We also share love for barefoot stuff, foot training in general.
Yeah.
I know you've always been real big on that. What are some things that, as far as barefoot training, I should say, what are some areas that you're going to do everything barefoot? Are you going to do your strength training, or is it going to be plyos? Is it going to be agility, or is it just like certain drills? Is it just the warm up? Where you stand on that?
For those who may be watching, we both share these minimalist shoes. Great minds think alike.
Is that the same one that I have on?
No,
it's a little different.
Yeah, these are Vivos.
Yeah, okay.
But same
concept. Yeah.
And, you know, because we're feet guys.
And we casually wear these around.
Casually.
That's a whole nother level.
Right.
Like first, level 1 is you wear them for training.
Right.
Level 2 is this is just your lifestyle.
This is who we are.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
I'm cool with it. You got to explain to a lot of people what you're wearing. I walk into the store, especially in the actual toe ones, and everybody's like, what the heck are those? Are you wearing socks?
Right.
And you got to describe it to everybody.
Yep. Good icebreaker. But anyways, the barefoot thing, you know, initially, I've always thought about it as what is the first interface with the athlete and the court or the field? And obviously it's your foot. So if we are asking our athletes to express high amounts of force from that interface, are we doing a disservice to our athletes by not training the foot? That was the number one concept that I grasped onto first. And it just made sense to me. Like the foot is a very complex piece of anatomy. Do not quote me on this, but something like 37 joints and 26 bones.
Yeah.
And, you know, if we aren't taking care of those areas of the body, then we're truly not unleashing true athleticism is where the thought came from. So then I started to educate myself and understand that the feet are obviously like the hands in terms of dexterity, and the amount of nerve endings in our feet and our hands are so high due to the fact that as bipedalers and thumb dominant creatures of the world, it was very important that whoever made us, God, if God is what you believe in, we needed to be able to have dexterity in both ends, feet and hands. So the stimulus that we receive from the floor drastically influences how we interact with the world around us, because shoes weren't always around, as everyone knows, through evolution. So it was very important for us to develop as humans, to survive, to catch prey, to have a very intimate relationship with our feet and the earth. Through the lifespan and development of a basketball player, that stimulus is completely abolished, because I'm sure you can attest to this as a player once before, being in AAU tournaments, playing 3-4 games a day. Did you ever take your shoes or socks off ever? Because you're going from one game to going to eat, back into the warm-up line. Boom, now I'm just chilling. Don't feel like taking my shoes off because I'm tired.
Right.
We lose that intimate relationship with the floor, our feet, and the communication from foot to brain, brain to foot. So reintroducing that communication feedback loop, I feel like, is a huge component of proprioception. And proprioception is just awareness with space and where our body is in space and that type of thing. And I'm sure everyone knows what that is.
Yep.
So that kind of unpeeled the onion even more. I like to put athletes without shoes and socks on different textures, whether it's rubber floor, whether it's tennis court, whether it's, you've heard of Nabosu?
No.
Emily Spleckel.
I have seen. Yep.
Amazing.
Yep.
She is awesome and off the chain. She has developed a product where it's essentially a yoga mat, but there's a rigid texture to it.
Yeah.
It almost feels very uncomfortable to those really basketball players who hate being barefoot. And it, again, reintroduces that feedback communication loop. And I love doing body weight stuff on that, just to, again, get the athletes out of their socks and shoes and reintroducing that communication.
Yep.
So I guess it all depends on how many years you've been working out with me. If you're brand new, we'll just warm up barefoot. You know what I mean? Build that robustness of being barefoot and being comfortable being barefoot into the training. And then Drew, if we're talking about Drew, who's been with me for 7, 8, 9 years, you know, sometimes we won't put our shoes on because he holds the robustness of being barefoot with high loads. We've drastically improved his ability to be single leg with, I don't know, 185 pounds on his back and do a single leg squat because he has that integrity.
Right.
And that was built over time. That doesn't, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day. And then lastly, introducing velocity to the foot, where you're doing barefoot sprinting, where you're doing barefoot agility, with in mind that being able to cut hard on a barefoot on most surfaces isn't going to be possible because you'll slip. But it does take an integrity and robustness to be able to handle those forces. Otherwise, you're going to have foot issues. Plain and simple. The foot isn't able, the tissue around the foot, the joints, whatever, isn't able to absorb those forces well. But that, again, is built through proper phasing, proper programming, and it can be done to the point to where I've had Drew sprint 20, 30 yards barefoot and nothing, you know, he's able to do that. And I feel like there's a lot to be said about feeling those velocities and forces barefoot, feeling things in between your toes. You just know where you're at in space. It just feels great.
Right. 100%. That reminds me of a quote. I forgot who originally said this quote, but this is the example I always use, is playing or constantly being in thick-soled shoes and thick socks is similar to typing with gardening gloves on. You would have no idea where your fingers are in space. You would have no idea how much force to apply, you know, in those gardening gloves. And that's exactly how our feet feel. And then all the way up the chain, we need that feedback to adjust. So if you have a problem with valgus knees, well, do your feet know where they are? And so do you have that tripod foot? Or are you completely overpronated at all times? And your feet may have no idea because they don't get that feedback from the floor. I mean, a lot of people say they're all about the foot strength. And it's like, that's a portion of it.
Sure.
But just as important is that proprioception aspect.
Correct. And I just want to add to that, you know, when we teach movement and trying to be a better mover on the court, I get guys out of their shoes and socks to break down where the contact should be when you cut, where the contact on the foot, right? And you can't feel that if you have shoes on.
No.
So we talk about inside edge a lot, moving laterally. I can explain it to you until I'm blue in the face, inside edge. But if I take your shoes off your feet, and you can actually feel the floor where the inside edge is, now, boom. Yeah. You have this epiphany of like, oh my gosh, I feel way quicker coming out of that cut.
Right. You have to feel it. Some things that just can't be described. No. You got to feel it. And yeah, I think people get excited. They hear conversations like this and they're like, okay, everything's barefoot from now on. As you said, that's an important point. Rome wasn't built in a day, and people's feet are so messed up that when they do get out of the shoes and they get away from that fake sense of stability that the shoes provide, they end up getting injured. And so you see stuff like plantar fasciitis, Achilles tendinopathy, because they went barefoot too early. The other thing people have to keep in mind is the surface really matters. So what we're talking about is, you know, sprinting or doing some low-level jumping on grass or a soft turf. We all talk about, hey, humans are meant to be barefoot, but humans also aren't meant to be on concrete. Right? They were walking on dirt and grass, and so their feet could accept those forces. So I think periodizing in your surfaces matters, starting with the softest surface and then gradually moving towards the harder surfaces. And then, like you said, start with just a warm-up, a barefoot warm-up, or barefoot single leg balance drills, and then gradually bring it into more of your training.